Hi, friends. Hi, kindred souls. Welcome back to Sage Thyme. I'm really glad you're here. There is a incredibly dynamic shift happening in our own individual and collective timelines. I'm being directed. I did pull one card from the I don't know what deck. This is the back of the card. And it is seeing the beauty. It's speaks to seeing the beauty. Complex patterns align to create great beauty when you see clearly. And the quote, the affirmation is, I visualize the divine plan. I'll show it to you here. Well, I'm really trying to get used to this new camera. It's funny. Complex patterns align to create great beauty when you see clearly. Okay, so now that's coming through. Why there is such an upheaval of this chaotic, loud, seemingly distorted energy not coming through, excuse me. It's an interesting paradox because it's all around. And I'm seeing that a lot of you are really experiencing this just in your external environment in contrast to a very peaceful and heart swelling internal support and steadiness. It's like that ship in the storm that does not get knocked off balance, and the storm is doing its thing all around it, and the ship is perhaps in the center of the storm, in the eye of the storm, but such a small radius of an eye when there's just this significant external birth of the actual storm going on around. But you as the ship, you're riding that center. And I'm seeing that it's not because you're thinking and focusing on how to do it and what to do and how to make it work in any external movement of circumstances, at the helm, so to speak. Rather, you are keeping your focus internally, and when the body prompts you without even thinking about it, you're moving into the next thing. And these can be very small things like going for a walk or vacuuming and allowing the rhythm of that task to provide you an environment that lets you stay focused within. And also, I'm seeing you now challenging some of your skills of interacting with the external world while maintaining. It's a lot easier to maintain that internal focus, that lucid state of the internal dimension with the external dimensions in collaboration with other dimensions that you're pulling in, dimensions that are timelines of you that are higher, that are your not only wish fulfillment, it's the experiential fulfillment of you. And so there's this overlay, like transparency sheets, but they're coming together and they're trying to weave. And so the external environment of your old timeline is towering. And because I'm seeing you and feeling you hold this steady, strong patience, and that doesn't mean that you're not getting pulled into the edges of your narrow berth of the center of the storm. You might be feeling that you are getting, a bit of the stern, and port side gets like into the storm just a little bit, and you feel it. Maybe it's some old thoughts and feelings around that are very limiting, lack or resentment or fear, all those things. um I'm hearing betrayal has been a one that can pull you back into that storm, but you're catching it so quickly and bring yourself back into into that internal center, that calm within the storm. My voice. That's another thing that's been coming through a lot, is allowing your voice to, I'm hearing open up. I was going to say, like, obviously vocalizing, singing, speaking, verbally and auditorily, expelling and harmonizing. And also, you're recognizing, I'm seeing for some of you, and this is really, it's neat. I'm hearing um, your voice and your throat chakra are connecting with that sacral chakra, right? Yeah, the sacral chakra. And also on a physical level, the sacral lumbar region, which is, the backside of that sacral chakra. So you might be having some low back, tailbone discomfort. And what's coming through is that vocalization and almost like that puberty quiver, trying to get the voice in alignment with the internal harmonics that you're creating within yourself, that is that center of the storm, calm and peace and patience, that is pulling in those higher timelines and dimensions of yourself into more fully into your internal self, grounding it down with that opening and reverberation of the throat, bringing it down through the heart and solar plexus into that sacral area, that creative space. And then allowing yourself to expel through the root of your body what no longer um, benefits you, what no longer supports your best life, as well as moving it out through your voice. And so, back to the point of advancing your ability to stay in presence while doing more meditative and rhythmic things like walking, um, healing dance work, vacuuming, those kind of rhythmic things, or simply sitting in breath work. I'm seeing you taking on more complex, more um, advanced, yes, but specifically, can I have an example, Spirit? We'll just say driving in your car, or going to the grocery store, and you're driving in your car, and you've got some less than amicable drivers on the road, and they're being chaotic. They're not only are they not following the rules of the road, they're putting yourself and others in danger with the way that they're driving. And that can create an ignition within us. And this is a small example. A bigger one could be interacting with somebody in your social group, a network, your community, a relationship, a family member that tests and triggers and taps on us. And having those interactions and simply holding that central neutralization of the inner prerogative, the inner state of that desired foundation. And this is some mad skills, you guys. This is not something that comes easily for people. We see people who give a performance appearance of it, but they're not actually creating their own internal universe from a place of more advanced complexity and high level sensitivity. And it's that high level sensitivity that allows you to pull in more intricate threads into the tapestry of the pattern that is your life that you're weaving and creating. And so be clear on that distinction when you see others kind of floating through life, things happening for them seamlessly, and yet they're not at all speaking, behaving, acting in a way that's in alignment with the integrity of what they pretend or say that they are being, or simply within the integrity of a world that is for life and for everybody in balance. And you can hear that chaos outside of me, that storm surrounding me, even trying to distract these words, these messages that are inherently known and true and active and awake within you, and trying to kind of pull away from that being a clear, clean, and through and true message of awakening and movement through your inner geography and tapestry. So as I was speaking at some point, some cards came out. So let's do that. We've got the Six of Wands. All right, what do we got here? Six of Wands, Page of Pentacles, and Nine of Pentacles. Well, would you look at that? Six of Wands, and this is you succeeding exactly with what we just talked about. You already are a success. The storm may be raging around you, but the success is already a felt experience within you. And you're holding that laurel wreath, not as a crown on your head, but as a crown of, I just saw the hands changed and switched, but it's that, it's all good, Shaka. It's all good. It's less of a thing of hubris and better than thou ego personality, and more of a thing of, I've got this. I've got this because I've earned it, and I've earned it because staying in alignment with the greater good, and love and compassion and balance in a world that works for everybody is an integrity that I keep striving to maintain and co-create. See, it's not about manifesting and creating strictly for yourself without any regard of how that affects other people. Like consuming things that blood diamonds or vehicles or housing that takes away from the environment, that hurts and harms innocent people, making choices throughout our day and our life that keep our own health and balance and strength in alignment and improving, while also not being a detriment to the world around us, as well as not being a detriment to others. And that's the kind of integrity that is so rich, that enhances your power and ability to co-create manifest, because you're not making it all about you. That's that whoop, that laurel leaf crown being held out. It's saying this is a crown for everybody. This is a triumph for everybody. Not martyring yourself and not disregarding others. And wow, that is so powerful. I'm feeling that so profoundly. Next is the Page of Pentacles. And I'm really being drawn to that owl on the branch below the character, up on the stone mound, a stone mound that is that singular pentacle. But the owl is, we identify the owl as this clear and historical wisdom. But an owl is also they're very affectionate. That's something that isn't exactly understood. They're very affectionate. They're very youth, and they give this appearance of this stoicism and this fierceness. And yet in truth, internally, they're very youthful and affectionate, and to connect with one is to experience something very akin to one's own inner child and sweetness and innocence. And I know that's Jupiter Kitty's back. She scared her own self with her tail. And to have this owl blink at the forefront on a branch before this individual starting mound of creation in the material world is to remember that there is that incredible balance of the paradox, and we can choose what that paradox is. And in a sense of the octave level of advancement. So, trying to bring in an example here of the owl. So, I spoke of the owl and the paradox of that incredible wisdom and astute, clear knowingness that comes from life experience and some extremes. Like, the owl can weather incredible storms and cold, uh, snow, blizzards, and so forth. And then also simultaneously, internally, and when given the space for it, the owl can be that affectionate innocence and playfulness. Not something that humans have, as a general sense, been able to recognize, but there are humans that do, that have a relationship with owls, very personally and up close at rescues and things like that, that know this about them. So that would be a higher octave of the paradox that we could be working with, that seems to be really wanting to show itself in this. But a lower octave of the owl, as I've heard, that, that fierce, predatory, um, stoic, isolated, and then the paradox of um, wounded or not wounded. That's wrong. Vulnerable, and in the sense of being targeted, right? Um, a couple of decades ago, owls here in the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest of the States, started becoming rapidly endangered because they were not only being targeted, but because of the massive deforestation. And it was one of the first in this region media exposed awarenesses, and met with the resistance to that awareness being publicized. So there was defamation on the side that wanted to keep logging and deforestation up for profitability. So those are the lower octaves. I feel like I'm making the point correctly, but also a little bit missing it. So we'll see if I can hone it in better. But I have a feeling you know what I mean in terms of working with the higher level paradox and letting that be a part of your Ace of Pentacles, your world that you're creating. And then last but not least, the Nine of Pentacles. And this again is that creation, but now it's advanced from the mound in the Page of Pentacles that one is sitting upon and storing and accumulating from a more baseline foundation. Now it's you've become this individual that is so connected with your internal universe that the external world is a reflection of that, and you know exactly what to do with that reflection because it's beautiful and it's in nature and it's co-creating with you, and your intention and choices and actions are to do that as well. And you're co-creating with this, just like this woman is playing music and creating from her artistic expression, not just from an instrument, but an instrument that's made out of and surrounding the natural world around her. And so it is contributing not just to her, but it's contributing to the planet. And, you know, that pentacle in between the trees is really showing me it's contributing to the cosmos as a whole. And you got to know, when you know the laws of cause and effect, of causality, when we create from a place that's not strictly serving just for ourselves, when we create from a place that intends and has feedback loop corrections for ourselves, if we get out of alignment, that intends to create for the greater good of the world as a whole, and then the universe, the cosmos as a whole, the return on that, the causality on that is incredible. And it comes in different times, in linear times, but it can also be experienced in the now, in any now moment, as it's occurring in future timelines or future places, points in time. Wow, that's a pretty fun message. I think do we want to do one more? Let's do a closing card. Yeah, we'll do a closing card out of the Sacred Earth Oracle. There we go. Oh, wow. Beautiful. Okay. Wink. Influence. Look at that. That is such a beautiful card. And that's what you're doing. Here, this character, she is through her third eye perceiving the cosmos and its needs and feeling it weave and create art throughout her body, internally and as a part of her external exhibition. But she's holding that symbol of purity and innocence that is in the external world, that is in everyone and everything of the external world. And she has her head bowed in this incredible presence of care and reverence and connection, interconnection. And you can see there's different layers here. This one's a little bit darker. And she's remembering not to dismiss or discard the more dense areas, the harder won points and storylines and narratives of her journey past, because they're also a part of others' journey present. And there must be room and space created to love that and that part of that journey for others. As you can see with this blue butterfly representing death and rebirth in the butterfly world, and just this more mystical and dark underworld, or otherworld, excuse me, space. And here in this elk, the heart is reflecting that blue death and rebirth sequencing of the journey and the path of learning and facing opposing challenges and constrictions. So let's read that. Oh, and the moons and the cycle at the top, showing that the presence of time is always a part of the influence. The influence. All right. HI influence. Here we go. All right. The earthly meaning: balance, imagination, and reality. Be cautious of giving undue influence to baseless assumption. Distinguish between opinion and evidence. Become aware of false limitations. Put real effort into proving a doubt or fear wrong. Be open to new ideas and perspectives, but do your homework and ensure a claim can hold true in practice as well as theory. Only through the eyes of the soul can the true nature of your life, existence, and purpose be known. All of life flows from the one divine heart of creation. You have a purpose, a meaning, and a role to play in this great journey of life. It may be beyond the knowing of the physical world, but it is not beyond the knowing of your soul. And the insight here. Imagine boarding a sea vessel. Oh my goodness, you guys. I was reading that first and I was like, okay, well, it's not exactly mirroring much of what I said, but cool. All right, let's see what this says. Imagine boarding a sea vessel and setting off for a grand adventure into the great unknown. You have a fantastic crew, plenty of supplies, and you are looking forward to encountering countless new sights and sounds. You may return home with tantalizing tales. Perhaps you will find a pristine paradise to call home. There is a great world of possibility awaiting you, and you are ready to embrace whatever comes your way. But how different would this journey be if you thought the world was flat? If every night you went to sleep worrying you might slip over the edge, never to return, how would it change your outlook? What would you do differently? Would you dare leave sight of familiar shores? Believing the earth was flat wouldn't make it so, but it would create false limitations and influence everything about your journey. Likewise, believing you are unworthy, unlovable, or incapable doesn't make it so. Be conscious of the thoughts, opinions, and values that are influencing your journey. So that really does go along with the idea of that storm and other people's thoughts and feelings and behaviors surrounding us. When we get out of alignment and we start touching that, we can feel that and its effect on us, whether they're being projected at us or they're simply reminding us of an old limitation and belief system. So that's really beautiful, you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of this reading. Thank you for being you on your journey where you are. It's perfect and it's imperfect. And that's the beauty of it. That's the seeing the complex patterns align to create great beauty when you're able to see clearly, seeing the beauty. Okay, my friends, until next time, have a beautiful day and a wonderful journey home.